you expect us to be. So fair dues in terms of letters that organizations have to write in abuse scandals. And I'm going to couch this one under our beloved heading of institutional abuse that we do all the time here, because especially with the morning update that came out today, Jay, who we've been going back and forth about this all day, says that statement almost felt like this could be a good thing. Almost. Yes, until today's news, Jay. Which literally I just got a message from her this morning. She was like, I hear you're talking about Hockey Canada. Have you seen this? Next article. So the next article is a bit more details about how Hockey Canada behaved and has behaved in the past. And this one is just, it's as bad as it sounds. They revealed this morning that Hockey Canada keeps a special multi-million-dollar fund, which is fed by the registration fees of players across the country, that is used to pay out settlements in cases of sexual assault. Lest you think this is the first time this has happened, I would like you to point you to literally every other institution that Dr. Kristen and I have covered in our foray across the rainbow spectrum of institutional abuse stories. This is bog standard behavior, y'all. I know it's not pleasant to hear. But yeah, not surprising news. The other news piece that came out today that I won't have Kristen share with you, but I'll just too long didn't read, is more about the specific allegations and the specific case in 2018 and the existence of videotape from that evening, video footage from that evening, and text message exchanges between one of the alleged assaulters and the alleged victim. And that's a whole other empathy exercise. We could do 25 minutes on what it means, what consent means, and how you prove consent. And it's a whole other kettle of fish to the institutional abuse thing. So if you want to read about it, it's going to be in the downstairs once we get the chapters updated. But this for me was obviously, a big empathy exercise in terms of understanding what it means to say something has a toxic culture.
Yeah.
And to say something is systemic. And we talk about this all the time here as we talk about institutions and instances of institutional abuse. This is a literal example of what systemic toxicity looks like. When you build in practices into the operation of the system that maintain a culture of abuse. It's the wrong response. The correct response was, oh shit, we've been getting a lot of accusations of assault and abuse. I wonder why.
Yeah.
That's the correct, what can we do about it? How can we fix it? That's the correct response. The incorrect response is, we just have all of these allegations piling up. We should have a separate fund for it.
But that's the response of every institution I've ever heard of.
Yeah.
And so it's just, we'll say it. We've said it before. We'll say it again. The institution will always protect itself.
Yeah. And I know a lot of people, I've seen a lot of people on Twitter, on Canadian Twitter and Canadian hockey Twitter, who are not professional hockey players, but were a part of Hockey Canada programs at some point in their young adult and childhood, and are absolutely furious, as they should be, that their registration fees were used to settle these cases. So my heart goes out to those folks today, and all the other people who are victims of assault and had their cases settled through this slush fund. It really taints the language from the Hockey Canada open letter. But we don't know. Maybe they're trying to change now. And this was a hangover from the toxic culture, but we're going to keep an eye on it, and we're going to hold them to their assertion that they know that they have to follow up their words with actions. So we shall see.
Speaking of words, and how words have consequences,
Mm-hmm.
we want to talk really briefly about Constance Wu. So for anyone, Constance, did I say Candace? I apologize. Constance Wu. Okay. For anyone who doesn't know, Constance Wu was the breakout star of the movie Crazy Rich Asians, which was incredible and was out in, I think, 2019, I think is when it graced our lives.
Before times. That's all I know.
In the before times. She was also at the time a star of a television show called Fresh Off the Boat on ABC, which was always on the bubble of getting picked up or not. Right after Crazy Rich Asians came out, she sent an accidental, honestly, what sounds like a drunk tweet that was kind of sad about the show getting picked up again. Was it classy? No. What was it professional? Not particularly. However, the absolute deluge of pile on to Constance Wu about she's ungrateful. And people were like tweeting at her and saying, like, if you don't really want this show, you could have given it to this Asian actress, or why are we platforming her when she's such a bitch? Like, it was a lot. And then she disappeared.
It was bad. Yeah.
And now she tells us that she attempted to take her own life in the aftermath of that situation. This is also right around the same time as Caroline Flack, one of our favorite presenters in the UK, took her own life because of tweets that were sent about her body and her behavior and her whatever. So we would like to remind everybody that words have power, that you can use them for good or for evil. And that whatever your opinions are about strangers, they don't usually need to hear them about their personhood. Behavior, maybe holding institutions to account, all this kind of stuff. I saw a tweet today that I loved, which said, y'all need to learn to be gentler to each other and rougher on systems.
Yeah, for real.
And like, to me, that's what this is. Like, what is it about the studio system to where she felt like she was trapped in a thing she hated and couldn't pursue creative pursuits? Why are we piling on her in a way that, very honestly, the only reason it felt as violent, I believe it turned as violent as it did, is because she was a woman of color, and women of color and especially Asian women, are supposed to be grateful at all times and never, ever, ever frustrated. I've read some stuff about that show. It doesn't sound super fun to work on all the time. So like, and even if it was the best place on earth, she wanted to make movies and they wouldn't let her.
Yeah.
So like,
and she has the right to speak out about her career. Like, we talked, like, was the statement done in the most possibly, like, in the most tasteful way? No, but she has the right to speak about her career.
She absolutely does. So this is a good reminder again of the power of words, and that they have consequences and power, and that we can use them a little bit more kindly.
Jumping back over to the sexual assault portion of our empathy exercises. Did that inadvertently. News broke 5 days ago that Uber is being sued over sexual assault claims. And if you want to know how many claims, there's at least 150. Potential cases are being currently actively investigated, where humans who partook of Uber's services were sexually assaulted in the context of their ride. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm just going to read this out loud so that then I know exactly how to rank this for ad suitability on YouTube later. Filing includes allegations that women passengers were, quote, kidnapped, sexually assaulted, sexually battered, raped, falsely imprisoned, stalked, harassed, or otherwise attacked by Uber drivers.
Cool.
So, back to our topic today of holding institutions accountable. Let's hold Uber accountable for the folks that they're hiring and the mechanisms that they have in place to protect riders and these women. So we will be keeping an eye on this lawsuit. I personally hope that it goes well for the claimants, and they're able to get some restitution and some accountability from Uber. But again, let's look at how that system is operating and ask some questions.
And also a good reminder that if you are a frequent Uber driver, Uber rider, like Aaron and I are, that the minor safety things they have in place, you should use and be very fierce about.
Yes. Speaking of things that people have also been fierce about, this comes to you from moi, your Indian country correspondent. And if you don't know the story of Jim Thorpe, they are making a movie about it, I believe, or they're trying to make a movie about, like a biopic about Jim Thorpe, which would be wonderful if they could. But he was a Native American athlete, often considered one of the greatest athletes to come from North America, to come from the North American continent. But he had his Olympic medals stripped from him after it was revealed that he had been paid to play some minor league baseball games over a couple of summers. It's a whole crazy story about how like he came back from the Olympics and was like ticker tape parades everywhere. And then he was just like absolutely shunned. So the news came this week that he has been reinstated as the sole winner for these 1912 Olympic golds. I think it's weird that we have this rule, but we do have this rule. So I'm not sure how I feel about the medals being reinstated, specifically, personally myself. But a lot of people have made the argument over the years that these medals were stripped because racism, because he wasn't a white athlete, and because he was specifically a Native American athlete. So check out the article. The IOC ruled in 1982 that, or they gave duplicate gold medals to his family, but his Olympic medals were not reinstated. So since 1982, they've been trying to get the medals actually put back on record, even though the IOC gave the family replica gold medals in 1982. So that's quite a long time to be working towards this. We're excited to see, hopefully, this story get told on the big screen, because Jim Thorpe is a fantastic biography and human story. So we'll keep an eye on it. But empathy exercise for this is learn more about Jim Thorpe.
Yeah, he even has a whole town named after him in Pennsylvania.
He does, in fact. Jim Thorpe, PA.
Where I have been with friend of the show, Cheryl. And we had a time. I can't classify the time, but we had a time. Sorry. All of a sudden, it has gotten super pitch black here in Charleston. Thank you, climate change. We're having thunderstorms every single afternoon here.
Gross.
Okay, there's two empathy exercises.
Really dark.
It got really dark. Two quick empathy exercises that the links don't work for, so I just want to tell you about them. The first is that it was revealed during press releases, the press junket for Thor: Love and Thunder, that out of an abundance of kindness, when they were about to film their kissing scene, Chris Hemsworth did not eat meat for a whole day, because Natalie Portman has been a vegan for a decade, and he didn't want to in any way dishonor her choices or put her at a health risk. And like she said, he eats like chicken breasts like popsicles. Like this isn't like he eats so much protein. Like this was a real sacrifice.
I love that.
So I wanted to point that out. It's kind of, I've seen it a couple times on Instagram. He just seems like the real deal, which excites me. No, neither of us have seen the film, so we cannot give you any updates on that. But we have an undying love for Chris Hemsworth until proven otherwise.
Correct. Facts.
Yeah. Same with Crispy, Chris Evans. So there are two, and Chris Pine. Those three Chris's we love until someone tells us not to.
Until someone and Paul Rudd. I'm adding Paul Rudd to that. Just right now.
Oh, I was just going with Chris's. Like we could keep going. So,
okay. We won't get sidetracked, but
okay. Another one is about the show Ms. Marvel, which several of you have asked us if we will cover. It is on the list for sure to talk about. We think it's got a lot of rich material, so it would not surprise us if it ends up on a Patreon, behind the Patreon wall. But you'll want to be sure to get on the Patreon, which again is linked in the downstairs here. It is live now, but you will not get charged until September when we start rolling out content largely around The Handmaid's Tale. But one of the bonuses, by the way, will be a live watch along with us to see the Emmys, so we can all cheer on Dopesick and drop out. Now, I say that because the article that Cheryl sent us was about Ms. Marvel. And the really interesting conversation was about how it got super panned when it first came out. And as it's gone along, the audience ratings are like out of this world. The critics thought it was too woke, it was too tired, it was too many things, and audiences are really responding to it. So a couple things. One, critics can be wrong. Two, they look for very different things than audiences do. And three, I think some of the way we consume art and the stories we want to tell are changing. And some of the old guard critics are not keeping up. So I can't find that art like that anywhere else. And NBC had taken it down. So, but did want to bring it up and acknowledge that Cheryl did send both of those to us. So thank you, Cheryl, for giving us that. Now, I found this on Twitter and I was just overjoyed by it.
I know.
There is a national brotherhood of skiers of color.
Yeah.
When you see winter sports, it's a very white dominated area. And Soledad O'Brien actually retweeted this, who's a great Twitter follow, by the way. For more than 40 years, the National Brotherhood of Skiers had made it their mission to create a safe space for Black Americans to enjoy winter sports. It started in Aspen, and it's now 50 clubs and 3,500 members across 4 regions of the United States. It's not just for men, it's for everybody. This is beautiful.
Yeah.
This is one of those things that's great to remember, that it's not just enough to say that somebody is welcome. You have to create spaces where they are welcome. You have to do the work. And I hope that this just brings joy to the people. I loathe skiing from the absolute bottom of my heart. I enjoy watching it. I don't understand the attraction of being sweaty and cold at the same time, but I respect that many people do. And I hope that the people in the National Brotherhood of Skiers find their joy. I was utterly delighted to know that this exists.
I know. It's amazing.
Okay, I'm going to flip flop really quick.
Okay.
So let me do one more happy one, and then we'll get into the messy one.
Yeah.
So I saw this yesterday on the news that the Blue Angels, which for all of our international viewers, the Blue Angels are like the fighter pilots that fly over fancy things in America. So it's like, the 4th of July or the Super Bowl, et cetera, et cetera.
Presidential inaugurations,
the whole nine.
Yeah.
And they're a demonstration, like they do tricks and the whole thing. So they've named the very first woman who will serve as a Blue woman pilot. And her name is Amanda Lee. She is of Mounds View, Minnesota. She's a lieutenant, and will fly
early next year. Yeah.
Early next year. And they told you the kinds of planes, but I don't know. There's Amanda. Okay. That's what I was scrolling for.
Yeah.
So amazing. Great job, Amanda.
I know. We saw it on the national news. I think yesterday or the day before, and my mom was like, the first one in 2022? I was like, come on, Suzanne.
I've stopped being surprised.
Stop being surprised about it.
Okay.
Let's just celebrate it.
Yeah. This one's complicated.
Yes, it is.
What is digital blackface? This was sent to us by Eleanor. Our dear Eleanor, whose husband ran across it and wanted to know our opinions on it. And then we essentially told Eleanor that we're of a lot of minds about it, and we'll talk about it on the thing. So the premise of digital blackface is the idea that if white people send reaction gifs of Black people, that is digital blackface. So if I want to respond to something and I use a Beyonce gif, that is blackface. I'm going to take this off so we can be our main selves here.
Yeah.
I'm of, whoa, hey, lightning, what is up?
I know it's so funny. I was thinking like it's so weird that like I don't hear the beeping from the factory, and I was like, it's so quiet. And then
so
like
quiet.
the thunder was like, not quiet. We're not high.
So let me say, I can 100% see this argument, and yet I'm also not sure it's true.
Yeah.
And this is partially because like I'm not going to be prevented from using animal GIFs. Like it just feels like GIF reactions are a different conversation.
Yeah, and like the point that
this.
Yeah, the point that the article makes is like that I sort of agree with, but I also think it's like it's so hard to kind of police or regulate this kind of thing. But one of the arguments that the article makes is that it in a lot of ways perpetuates stereotypes that we have of Black people, Black women, Black men, especially if it's like one of the really really like the gif of Michael Jordan crying, or like you know the ones that are really really popularly used. But like so I can see that part of the argument, but like if I'm talking about like a friend of mine who is newly single and I want to share a gif of single ladies, I don't think that's disrespecting Beyonce or like stereotyping Black women. I think she wrote a song about being a single lady, and like I'm making a cultural reference. So it's like,
the thing is, yeah, too, nobody thinks that the GIF is like what your face is actually doing.
Yeah.
Like it's the point of a GIF is that it's like an exaggerated thing that makes you laugh or something. Like I think what is missing for me in this is the performative aspect of I am saying that this is me and this is my actual reaction. We don't do the one-to-one equivalent with GIFs that way.
Yeah.
So like having an avatar, like if I put up a profile picture of a Black person that and like claimed that as my online identity, that I think is digital blackface.
That is digital blackface. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think GIFs fall into that all the time, but I don't know how to police it. I mean, like there's some stuff I don't use GIFs of Michael Jackson anymore. Like when I want a popcorn GIF, I use Stephen Colbert because Michael Jackson was, in my very learned and expert opinion, a child molester, and I don't want to like continue to propagate his face all over my stuff. And there are definitely times that I avoid it, but like there is no more perfect GIF for I am over this than Viola Davis grabbing her purse in How to Get Away with Murder.
How to Get Away with Murder. So, yeah.
But like, and okay, so another example, I would say that digital blackface as a white woman, if I was saying I was frustrated and I used a GIF of someone taking off their wig.
Yeah.
Like that would be digital blackface, but just using
like, yeah, but then like, so how do you regulate it? And how if we to make up a set of agreed upon rules, like we're never going to have that. So I understand in some ways the impetus to just say like, don't do it.
Yeah.
But, and like, I am not a scholar of this. I am not a scholar of the origins, because the article makes the argument, the scholars that they do use in the article makes the argument that you can trace this back to like minstrel shows. Yeah. But I mean, I would say for me, there are like similarities in how GIFs can sometimes be used. But like, can we actually call that digital blackface all the time? I don't think so.
Yeah, this one just feels too messy.
Yeah, it is very messy.
To make unilateral declarations.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously we're two white ladies, so like...
So we don't know.
We don't know how it feels. So if anybody watching this is like a person of color and wants, please tell us if you agree, disagree, thoughts and feelings about Black people in GIFs being used.
Yeah, and I've read other common comments from Black women who are like, this is not a thing. Like this is not a thing. And others that are like, this is a really important thing. So on the spectrum, just like we talk about with language, I will tell you, since considering this, there are times that I'm like, hey, let me double check if there's a different GIF. I think you can be more intentional with your GIF usage. I think we can all do it. Like, you don't need to use Chuck Norris gifs anymore because he doesn't like gay people and thinks they should all be executed. So like maybe we don't do Chuck Norris jokes anymore. We can kind of move on.
Yeah.
But it feels a little, maybe we're just a little fresh. Maybe I don't really understand. I don't have the scholarship to understand what a GIF really is in terms of the cultural currency.
That's a good point. Yeah, neither do I. So like we're open to being like, educated about this, obviously,
100%.
or having arguments being made either way. But yeah, we've had this conversation several times in the last couple of years where we find an article and we just keep recycling it, and we're just like, yeah, sometimes, but also not sometimes. And like, there's so many qualifiers that we add when we talk about it that it makes it really hard to say categorically like yay or nay about it.
Yeah, but just like in, every time we talk about any online spaces, we need more research into how people perform online and how people interact online and how people see themselves and comport themselves online.
I will use our oft quoted from our PhD times. There's a PhD in that.
There's a PhD in that. I'm sure there's a million of them. Yeah. But I hope it trickles out of the academy and into usable scholarship.
Burn.
Because I think that for me, one of the fundamental issues is what is a GIF and what do we actually use it for? And what do we expect other people to perceive it as? And
do we have evidence to support the contention that it causes harm?
Correct, because Blackface does. Minstrel shows did and still do. I am hesitant to say a GIF does, and I'd like to see more data.
I'd like to see data because like what came to mind as you were talking about that when I made that correlation was like we have data to back up the assertion that Indian mascots of Native Americans cause active harm.
Yes, absolutely.
So like we know that. We don't have enough data, I don't think, about digital blackface or about GIFs to be like, yeah, we know it impacts mental health. We know it impacts self-perception, like that kind of stuff. Yeah. So yeah, what we're calling for is more research.
Which is one of our battle cries and will be forever.
Almost always.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I think that's all we've got for now.
I believe so. I believe we're done.
So we'd love to invite all of you to come and hang out with us on Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern on Clubhouse, where we do our next round of empathy exercises. The way that we collate these, by the way, is that there's a channel on our Slack. And like when we hit 10, that's the ones for the video. Then the next 6 are for Clubhouse. Then the next 10 are for the newsletter. And like,
or the cutoff part is like this morning, like like the day of. So like today we have the empathy exercises live on these different platforms. So like anything that went into the Slack channel this morning automatically becomes
for Clubhouse on Friday.
For Clubhouse on Friday. Yeah. So we've got it down. We've got it down to a system.
On Thursdays, we send out a newsletter with empathy exercises and some minor stuff. So honestly, you've got to be here on Clubhouse and on the newsletter to get all of the analysis. And the good news is that if you're on all of those things, you'll never miss a discount code or an announcement or anything else, especially this summer, as this is one of our only means of communication with you.
Everything else is on pause.
Now, next week, I will be on the Emerald Isle. And I believe that I will still be able to join you for empathy exercises. But if not, you will enjoy Dr. Aaron entirely, as always. And that's all I got for now.
Yeah, we'll see you next Tuesday. You will definitely have me. You may or may not have Dr. Kristen as well. But it is now her time for a transatlantic flight and to see our dear beloved friends and family on the Emerald Isle. So we will wish Dr. Kristen very safe travels, both out of the thunderstorms in Charleston and back to Philadelphia and then back across the pond. And make sure you check out the downstairs for links to the Patreon, links to the newsletter, links for all the stuff that we covered today. And hopefully, yes, you will download Clubhouse, Jay, and join us on Friday, and everyone else will too. Have a great rest of the week, and we'll see you when we see you.
Bye, everybody.